Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chastity, and this is the healing work, and we're reading The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. We left off at chapter 1, and now we're going to pick up on chapter 2. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and comment below. How your mind works. Your mind is your most precious possession. It is always with you, but its most amazing powers will be yours only when you have learned how to use it. As we've seen, there are two levels to your mind, the conscious or rational level and the subconscious or irrational level. You think with your conscious mind, and whatever you habitually think sinks down into your subconscious mind, which then creates according to the nature of your thoughts. Let's reread that again. You think with your conscious mind, and whatever you habitually think sinks down into your subconscious mind, which then creates according to the nature of your thoughts. So we kind of picked up on this in the first chapter, but I think this is so important. This goes back to making sure that we are paying attention to the thoughts that we think, because as Mr. Murphy states in the book, what you habitually think sinks down into your subconscious mind. So if you're consciously thinking negative thoughts, that's going to sink down into your subconscious mind, and that will create, the nature of your thoughts. So just be mindful of that. And then he goes on to say your subconscious mind is the seat of your emotions. It is the creative mind. If you think good, good will follow. If you think evil, evil will follow. This is the way your mind works. The most important point to remember is this. Once the subconscious mind accepts an idea, it begins to execute it. So if you're thinking negative, your subconscious mind is going to think that you want a negative outcome, and it's going to get to working on a negative outcome. Once the subconscious mind accepts an idea, it begins to execute it. It is an astonishing and subtle truth that the law of subconscious mind works for good and bad ideas alike. This law applied in a negative way is the cause of failure, frustration, and unhappiness. When your habitual thinking is harmonious and constructive, however, you experience perfect health, success, and prosperity. Peace of mind and health and a healthy body are inevitable once you begin to think and feel in the right way. Whenever you claim mentally and feel is true, your subconscious mind will accept and bring forth into your experience. All you have to do is get your subconscious mind to accept your idea. Once that happens, the law of your subconscious mind will bring forth the health, peace, and prosperity you desire. You give the command or decree, and your subconscious will faithfully reproduce the idea impressed upon it. The law of your mind is this. The reaction or response you get from your subconscious mind will be determined by the nature of the thought or idea you hold in your conscious mind. That's very powerful. I'll read that again. The law of your mind is this. The reaction or response you get from your subconscious mind will be determined by the nature of the thought or idea you hold in your conscious mind. So let's just be mindful that we're feeding our conscious mind with positive thoughts, so therefore it can steep down into our subconscious. Psychologists and psychiatrists point out that when thoughts are conveyed to your subconscious mind, impressions are made in the brain cells. As soon as your subconscious accepts any idea, it proceeds to put it into effect immediately. Working by association of ideas, it uses every bit of knowledge that you have gathered in your lifetime to bring about its purpose. It draws on the infinite power, energy, and wisdom within you. It lines up all the laws of nature to get its way. Sometimes it seems to bring about an immediate solution to your difficulties, but other times it may take days, weeks, or longer. Its ways are past finding out. The difference between the conscious and the subconscious mind. You must remember that the conscious and subconscious are not two minds. They are merely two spheres of activity within one mind. This goes back to the first chapter where he was saying that we have one mind, but that mind is kind of maybe split up and like he's saying here, into different spheres. Your conscious mind is the reasoning mind. It is that phase of mind that chooses. For example, you choose your books, your home, and your partner in life. You make all your decisions with your conscious mind. On the other hand, without any conscious choice on your part, your heart is kept functioning automatically, and the vital functions of digestion, circulation, and breathing are carried on by your subconscious mind through processes independent of your conscious control. Your subconscious mind accepts what is impressed upon it or what you consciously believe. It does not reason things out as your conscious mind does, and it does not argue with you controversially. Your subconscious mind is like a bed of soil that accepts any kind of seed, good or bad. Your thoughts are active, they are seeds. Negative, destructive thoughts continue to work negatively in your subconscious mind. Sooner or later, they will emerge and take shape as an outer experience that corresponds to their content. Let me read that again. Negative, destructive thoughts continue to work negatively in your subconscious mind. Sooner or later, they will emerge and take shape as an outer experience that corresponds to their content. That's very important. I don't think sometimes we realize how our external world is governed by our internal thinking. Remember, your subconscious mind does not engage in proving whether your thoughts are good or bad, true or false. It responds according to the nature of your thoughts or suggestions. For example, if you consciously assume that something is true, even though it may be false, your subconscious mind will accept it as true and proceed to bring about results that must necessarily follow because you consciously assumed it to be true. A good example of this may be maybe someone who's fearful, maybe of an illness. They're not displaying any signs or symptoms of that illness, but because they're continuously fearful of it, they keep thinking negative thoughts about them contracting the illness or what have you, then the illness potentially manifests. So it's important that you address whatever concerns you have, but don't harbor any negative thoughts about it or become fearful of it, because what you think negatively about that in turn may come to fruition. Experiments by psychologists. Psychologists and others have performed countless experiments on people who are in a hypnotic trance. This research shows clearly that the subconscious mind does not make the selections and comparisons that are necessary for a reasoning process. Your subconscious mind will accept any suggestions, however false. So this goes back to what I was just saying. The person may not have had the illness, but due to them thinking it consciously, the subconscious mind picked up on it and was beginning to work to bring that to fruition. Having once accepted any suggestion, it responds according to the nature of the suggestion given. To illustrate how suggestible your subconscious mind is, if a practiced hypnotist suggests to one of her subjects that she is Napoleon Bonaparte or even a cat or a dog, the subject will act out the part with inimitable accuracy. Her personality becomes changed for the time being. She believes herself to be whatever the operator tells her she is. A skilled hypnotist may suggest to one of his students in the hypnotic state that her back itches. To another, his nose is bleeding. To another, she's a marble statue. To another, that she is freezing and the temperature is below zero. Each one will follow out the line of his particular suggestion, totally oblivious to all these surroundings that do not pertain to the hypnotic suggestion. These simple illustrations portray the difference between your conscious, reasoning mind and your subconscious mind, which is impersonal, non-selective, and accepts as true whatever your conscious mind believes to be true. Let's read that one more time. These simple illustrations portray the difference between your conscious, reasoning mind and your subconscious mind, which is impersonal, non-selective, and accepts as true whatever your conscious mind believes to be true. Hence the importance of selecting thoughts, ideas, and premises that bless, heal, inspire, and fill your soul with joy. The term subjective and objective mind clarified. Your conscious mind is sometimes referred to as your objective mind because it deals with outward objects. The objective mind is aware of the objective world. Its media of observation are your five physical senses. Your objective mind is your guide and your director in your contact with your environment. You gain knowledge through five senses, which is, seeing, hearing, smelling, touch. Your objective mind learns through observation, experience, and education. As previously pointed out, the greatest function of the objective mind is that of reasoning. Suppose you are one of hundreds of thousands of tourists who visit the Grand Canyon every year. You would come to the conclusion that it's one of the world's most amazing natural wonders. The conclusion would be based on your observation of its incredible depth. The complex shaping of the rock formations, the beautiful play of colors among the different geological strata, this is working of your objective mind. Your subconscious mind is often referred to as your subjective mind. Your subjective mind is aware of its environment, but not by means of the physical senses. Your subjective mind perceives by intuition. It is the seat of your emotions and the storehouse of your memory. Your subjective mind performs its highest functions when your objective senses are not functioning. In other words, it is that intelligence that makes itself known when the objective mind is suspended or in a sleepy, drowsy state. Your subjective mind sees what the use of the natural organs of your subjective mind sees without the use of natural organs of vision. It has the capacity of clairvoyance, clairaudience. It can see and hear events that are taking place elsewhere. Your subjective mind can leave your body, travel to distant lands, and bring back information that is often of the most exact and truthful character. Through your subjective mind, you can read the thoughts of others with the contents of sealed envelopes or intuit the information on a computer disk without using a disk drive. Once we understand the interaction of the objective and subjective minds, we are in a better position to learn the true art of prayer. The subconscious cannot reason like your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind does not have the ability to argue or dispute what is told. If you give it wrong information, it will accept it as true. It will then work to make the information correct. It will bring your suggestions, even those that are false, to pass as conditioned experiences and events. That is kind of very important, especially when you think about how sometimes we can be programmed by the music and TV that we watch or our environment. So if you're not conscious of what you're reading, watching, and listening to, you're subconsciously feeding your subconscious mind. And so if a lot of that stuff is negative, it's not progressive, unfortunately, it's not going to move you forward. So that's another big important thing that we need to look at while we're on this spiritual journey, what we're feeding ourselves. Everything that has happened to you, everything that has happened to you happened because of thoughts impressed on your subconscious mind through belief. If you have communicated wrong or distorted concepts to your subconscious mind, it is the most urgent importance to correct them. The sure way to do this is by repeatedly giving your subconscious mind constructive, harmonious thoughts. As these are frequently repeated, your subconscious minds accept them. In this way, you can form new, healthier habits of thought and life, for your subconscious mind is the seed of habit. This is what I talked about in the first two videos, how I was saying, like, prior to my spiritual journey that I started maybe, I think it's been about going on about maybe 2 years ago. I wasn't necessarily cognizant of some of the thoughts that I had. I'm not naturally a negative person. I'm just kind of because I'm a Libra, so I'm kind of just mellow, monotone. But now that I'm on this journey, I'm so mindful of the thoughts that I have, and I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like, oh, I never think negative. I mean, negative thoughts come in my mind, and what I attempt to do is try to understand where that thought may be coming from and kind of counterbalance it with a positive thought, especially if it's something that, I personally don't want to identify with. So that's just something that's very important that we all should work on doing, just because, as we've been learning here, those thoughts can directly impact our external environment. So I will continue. Everything that happens to you happened because of the thoughts impressed on your subconscious mind through belief. If you have communicated wrong or distorted concepts to your subconscious mind, it is of the most urgent importance to correct them. The sure way to do this is by repeatedly giving your subconscious mind constructive, harmonious thoughts. As these are frequently repeated, your subconscious mind accepts them. In this way, you can form new, healthier habits of thought and life, for your subconscious mind is the seat of habit. The habitual thinking of your conscious mind establishes deep grooves in your subconscious mind. If your habitual thoughts are harmonious, peaceful, and constructive, your subconscious mind will respond by creating harmony, peace, and constructive conditions. Have you fallen prey to fear, worry, and other destructive forms of thinking? The remedy is to recognize the power of your subconscious mind and decree freedom, happiness, and perfect health. Your subconscious mind, being creative and one with your divine source, will then start to create the freedom and happiness you have earnestly decreed. This is basically saying what I just, previously discussed. It's okay to have these thoughts, just because these thoughts can be potentially maybe epigenetically programmed into, I'm not going to say epigenetically, because I want to make sure I want to use that word in a proper context. But I will say we don't realize how sometimes how our childhood shaped and programmed who we are to this day. We're sometimes not mindful of the things that we listen to and watch on TV, how they shape our thinking. So we're naturally probably going to have thoughts that are not our true thoughts. It's okay. Acknowledge them. You don't have to accept them as factual if you yourself don't believe that they are factual. But recognize them and try to counterbalance them with a positive thought. And then it goes on to say, have you fallen prey to fear, worry, or destructive forms of thinking? Let me go on to the next section. The tremendous power of suggestion. As you can see by what we have already discussed, your conscious mind serves as the watchman at the gate. One of its most crucial functions is to protect your subconscious mind from false impressions. The reason this is so important goes back to one of the basic laws of mind. Your subconscious mind is very sensitive to suggestion. What you watch, who you hang around, what you listen to. As you know, your subconscious, and what you eat also. It's just a list of suggestive stuff that if you're not mindful of, it can definitely impact your internal and external environment. As you know, your subconscious mind does not make comparisons or contrasts. It doesn't reason and think things out for itself. That's why it's important for you to realize this and make the corrective changes. The latter function belongs to your conscious mind. No, your subconscious mind simply reacts to the impressions given to it by your conscious mind. It does not pick and choose among different courses of action. It merely takes what it is given. Suggestion is tremendously powerful force. Imagine that you are on board a ship that is rocking a bit from side to side. You approach a timid-looking fellow passenger and say, "Gee, you don't look so hot. Your face is practically green. I'm afraid you're about to be seasick. Can I help you to your cabin?" The passenger turns pale. The suggestion you have just made about seasickness links up with your own fears and forebodings. She lets you escort her down below decks. Once she is there, your negative suggestion, which is accepted, comes true. This goes back to the story that I talked about, maybe someone not necessarily being sick, but having thoughts of being sick, or like having the symptoms of being sick, and then it kind of lines up. Different reactions to the same suggestion. It is important to realize that different people will react in different ways to same suggestion. This is because they have different subconscious conditionings or beliefs. Think about it. Say if me and a group of friends go out to eat. I'm very passive. I can't say that that's a good thing, but Say, for instance, if the experience at the restaurant is not that great, and we've all had the same experience, but depending on my conditioning, my friend's conditioning, someone will act differently to the experience. So this is what it's basically saying. Suppose instead of choosing a fellow passenger on the ship, you go to a member of the crew. You say, "Hey, buddy, you don't look so great. Do you think you're about to be seasick?" Depending on the sailor's temperament, he either laughs at your feeble joke or tells you to get lost. Your suggestion had no power over him because the idea of seasickness was associated in his mind with his own immunity from it. Therefore, it called up not fear or worry, but self-confidence. I think this is also important. Unfortunately, I don't have any children, but I do have nieces and nephews, and I have friends that have children, and I'm always around people who have children. But it's very important for us to be mindful of what we're feeding our children. If you're continuously feeding your child negative thoughts, you're going to in turn make them feel, not necessarily secure in themselves. So this is another good example that we can use to help, correct any behaviors that we may be demonstrating that falls along the lines of this. A dictionary will tell you that a suggestion is an act or an instance of putting something into one's mind. It is the mental process by which the thought or idea that has been suggested is entertained, accepted, or put into effect. Remember, a suggestion cannot impose itself on the subconscious mind against the will of the conscious mind. Your conscious mind has the power to reject the suggestion. So remember, whatever you're thinking, if you're consciously aware of it, you have the ability to block that. The sailor had no fear of seasickness. He had convinced himself of his immunity, so the negative suggestion had no power to evoke fear. But your fellow passenger was already worried about becoming sick. Therefore, your suggestion had power over her. All of us have our own inner fears, beliefs, and opinions. These inner assumptions rule and govern our lives. A suggestion has no power in and of itself. Its power arises from the fact you accept it mentally. That's very powerful. A suggestion has no power in and of itself. Its power arises from the fact that you accept it mentally. So basically, we give power to our fears. That's amazing. Well, not amazing, but that's very interesting when you think about that. Only at that point do your subconscious powers begin to act according to the nature of the suggestion. How he lost his arm. For many years, I gave a regular series of lectures at the London Truth Forum in Caxton Hall, which I founded. Dr. Evelyn Fleet, the director, told me about a man whose young daughter suffered from both crippling rheumatoid arthritis and the disfiguring and painful skin condition called psoriasis. They tried many treatments, but nothing the doctors did seemed to help. The man was near despair. Over and over, he said to himself and to his friends, "I will give my right arm to see my daughter cured." According to Dr. Fleet, one day the family was out for a drive. Their car was involved in a head-on collision. The father's right arm was torn off at the shoulder. When he came home from the hospital, he discovered that his daughter's arthritis and skin condition had vanished. You must be very careful to give your subconscious only those suggestions that heal, bless, elevate, and inspire you in all your ways. Remember, your subconscious mind doesn't understand a joke. It takes it as your word. How autosuggestion banishes fear. The term autosuggestion means suggesting something definite and specific to oneself. Like any tool, wrongly used, it can cause harm, but used properly, it can be extremely helpful. Janet R. was a talented young singer. She was invited to try out for an important role in an opera production. She desperately wanted to audition, but she was also terribly apprehensive. 3 times before she had sung for director, she had failed miserably. The reason was fear of failure. She had a wonderful voice, but she had been saying to herself, "When the time comes for me to sing, I'll sound awful. I'll never get the role. They won't like me. They'll wonder how I have the nerve even to try out. I'll go, but I'll know I'll be a failure. Her subconscious mind accepted these negative autosuggestions as a request. It proceeded to manifest them and bring them into her experience. The cause was an involuntary autosuggestion. Her fears had become, emotionalized and subjectified thoughts that in turn became her reality. I think about this a lot when, in hindsight, like I said, I'm naturally a very passive person and I'm kind of well balanced. So I generally do not demonstrate much emotion unless like I'm frustrated. And you got to think, when you're frustrated or angry, the frequency of that is a lot heavier than when you're happy. So that's important too, is when you're thinking these, when you're working on shifting your mind to have more positive thoughts and experiences, you got to make sure that your emotions align up too with that. This younger singer was able to overcome the force of her negative autosuggestions. She accomplished this by countering them with positive autosuggestions. 3 times a day, she went alone into her quiet room. She sat down comfortably in an armchair, relaxed her body, and closed her eyes. She stilled her mind and body as best she could. Physical inertia favors mental passivity and renders the mind more receptive to suggestion. So this goes back to meditating. Like I said in the first, I think it might have been the first or the second video, I can't recall. But work on meditating. Start out 5 minutes. Like last night, I attempted to do 30, but I only did 15 minutes. But doing that and relaxing your mind, allowing thoughts to come in and thoughts to leave, not necessarily attaching to any thoughts, it allows for your body and your mind to kind of be in one accord, in harmony. A lot of times throughout the day when we're working and we're interacting with our family and friends, we're not cognizant of our body. So, you need to do that also to work on making sure that you are thinking positive thoughts, and your body is a lot more receptive to that when you're in a meditative state. To counteract the fear of suggestion, she repeated to herself, I sing beautifully, I'm poised, serene, confident, and calm. At each sitting, she repeated this statement slowly, quietly, with feeling from 5 to 10 times. She had 3 such sittings during the day and 1 immediately before going to sleep. After 1 week, she was completely poised and confident. When the fateful day came, she gave a wonderful audition and was cast in the part. Develop a definite plan for turning over your requests or desires to your subconscious mind. Never say I can't. Overcome that fear by substituting the following. I can do all things through the power of my subconscious mind. I also think this is important for those of us who work out in corporate. A lot of times, we may not be recognized by our peers or our superior. So a lot of times when I'm at work, I'm feeding my mind positive thoughts. You're doing a good job today. You got this. The day is almost over. Just doing it repeatedly versus sitting up here, I don't feel like being here today. Just thinking all those negative thoughts. As I continue to do that, it'll be one day where I won't be working for no one else. I'll be working for myself. And so I just think it's important to use whatever time you have throughout the day when you're working to feed yourself positive thoughts. How she restored her memory. A woman of 75 had always been proud of her ability to remember like everyone. She forgot things now and then, but she paid no attention. However, as she got older, she began to notice these occasions and worry about them. Each time she forgot something, she said to herself, I must be losing my memory because of my age. As a result of this negative autosuggestion, more and more names and events slipped her mind. She was close to despair. Then fortunately, she realized how she was damaging herself. She resolved to reverse the process. Every time she felt the temptation to think I'm losing my memory, she stopped herself. More than that, she deliberately reversed the procedure. Several times a day, she practiced induced positive auto-suggestion. She said to herself, from today onward, my memory is improving in every way. I will always remember whatever I need to know at every moment of time and point of space. The impressions I receive will be clear and definite. I will retain them automatically and easily. Whatever I want to recall will immediately present itself in a correct form in my mind. I am improving rapidly every day. Very soon my memory will be better than it has ever been before. At the end of 3 weeks, her memory was back to normal. How to overcome a nasty temper. I was consulted by a man whose marriage and career were both in serious trouble. Hughes D's problem was the chronic irritability and bad temper. He was concerned about this himself. But if anyone tried to discuss it with him, he exploded in anger. He constantly told himself that everyone was picking on him and that he had to defend himself against them. To counter this negative autosuggestion, I advised him to use positive autosuggestion. Several times a day, morning, noon, and night, prior to sleep, he was to repeat to himself, from now on, I shall grow more good-humored. Joy, happiness, and cheerfulness are now becoming my more normal states of mind. Every day I'm becoming more and more lovable and understanding. I will be a center of cheer and goodwill to all those around me. Infecting them with my good spirits, this happy, joyous, and cheerful mood is now becoming my normal, natural state of mind. I am grateful. That's another thing. A lot of times we want to call in all these different things. Money, love, peace, and all this stuff, but just also being in a state of gratitude will definitely put you in a more receptive state to receive these desired wishes. After a month, his wife and his co-workers remarked on how much easier it was to get along with. Heterosuggestion. The term heterosuggestion means suggestions from another person. In all ages and every part of the world, the power of suggestion has played a dominant part in the life and thought of humankind. Political creeds, religious beliefs, and cultural customs all flourish and perpetuate themselves through the power of heterosuggestion. Suggestion can be used as a tool to discipline and control ourselves. However, it can also be used to take control and command over others who have not been taught to understand the laws of mind. In a constructive form, it is wonderful and magnificent. In its negative aspect, it is one of the most destructive of all the response patterns of the mind. Its results can be enduring patterns of misery, failure, suffering, sickness, and disaster. And heterosuggestion would definitely be more synonymous to what I was stating, how depending, like how I was discussing how our environment shapes who we are as people. And like I was saying, a lot of times, even though I don't have children, when I am around parents who do, I'm able to see how maybe their words or their behaviors may potentially positively impact the children or negatively impact the children. So it's just very, I just know there are a lot of distractions. We just need to be mindful how our words and behaviors can impact others through heterosuggestion. Have you accepted any of these negative suggestions? From day we are born, we are bombarded with negative suggestions. Not knowing how to counter them, we consciously accept them and bring them into being as our experience. Here are some examples of negative suggestions. You can't, you'll never amount to anything, you mustn't, you fail, you haven't got a chance, you're all wrong, it's no use, it's not what you know, but who you know, the world is going to the dogs. What's the use? Nobody cares. There's no point to trying so hard. You're too old now. Things are getting worse and worse. Life is the endless grind. Love is for the birds. You just can't win. Watch out. You'll catch a terrible disease. You can't trust a soul. By accepting heterosuggestion of this kind, you collaborate in bringing them to pass. As a child, you were helpless when faced with the suggestions of others who were important to you. You did not know any better. The mind, both conscious and unconscious, was a mystery you did not even wonder about. As an adult, however, you are able to make choices. You can use constructive autosuggestion, which is reconditioning therapy, to change the impressions made on you in the past. The first step is to make yourself aware of the heterosuggestions that are operating on you. Unexamined, they can create behavior patterns that cause failure in your personal and social life. Constructive autosuggestion can release you from this mass of negative verbal conditioning that might otherwise distort your life pattern. Make the development of good habits difficult or even impossible. I think about this growing up. I remember, for some odd reason, I'm trying to remember, like, I was fascinated with the idea of writing. I wasn't necessarily a great writer, but I liked the idea of it, like reading articles. I remember one year I begged my dad to buy me a laptop, and this is like way before like internet was big. I mean, literally, I'm talking like AOL. But sorry, y'all, I'm burning the incense, and it just got a little bit out of control. But I had him to purchase me a laptop because I just wanted to pretend like, hey, I was working at a magazine or a newspaper or what have you. And I wanted to pretend like I was typing and what have you. So in school, in English was never one of my favorite subjects, just because I remember grammatically I just was not the best student. So over time, continuously receiving like okay grades and never really receiving positive feedback in regards to writing, or not necessarily even positive, even if it was constructive to say, hey, you got this wrong, let's put this here. I just began to push away from writing altogether. Literally, like, I just didn't care at all. And I think about how, like, on one occasion I wrote this story, and now that I think about it, it was a relatively good story considering what grade that I was in, but just due to the grammatical errors that were in the paper, like, the teacher just tore them to shreds. Like, she didn't even give me any positive feedback just for even the creative aspect of the story. And so I literally just moved away from caring about writing or any of that. Hold on one second, y'all. Be right back. I'm sorry, I'm back. So like what I was saying, yes. So I basically gave up on writing and really didn't have any care about writing until recently. And I still kind of have some of those blocks. So those are some of the things. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm currently working on now, by feeding myself positive affirmations so I can break down those blocks that I received through childhood. So hopefully one day I can become a famous author. So I'll continue. By accepting heterosuggestions of this kind, you collaborate in bringing them to pass. As a child, you were helpless when faced with the suggestions of others who were important to you. You did not know any better. The mind, both conscious and unconscious, was a mystery you did not even wonder about. As an adult, however, you are able to make choices. You can use constructive autosuggestion, which is reconditioning therapy, to change the impressions the impressions made on you in the past. The first step is to make yourself aware of the heterosuggestions that are operating on you. Unexamined, they can create behavior patterns that cause failure in your personal and social life. Constructive autosuggestion can release you from the mass of negative verbal conditioning that might otherwise distort your life pattern, making the development of good habits difficult or even impossible. You can counteract negative suggestions. Pick up the paper or turn on the television news. Every day you hear dozens of stories that could sow the seeds of futility, fear, worry, anxiety, and impending doom. If you accept them and take them in, these thoughts of fear can cause you to lose the will for life. However, once you understand that you do not have to accept them, choices open up for you. You have within the power to counteract all these destructive ideas by giving your subconscious mind constructive autosuggestions. Listen, I was just talking about autosuggestion through music, TV, and all this stuff. I don't watch the news. Very rarely you do turn on the news and anything is good. And it's not that I don't want to be informed of what's going on. It's just that life in itself can be very stressful. And what duty does it serve? Well, how does it benefit me by taking on all this additional stress, especially if you're and I'm very emotional. Well, I'm not going to say emotional person, but very empathetic. Like, even though I'm not outwardly like 100% happy all the time, or like angry. Like I said, I'm a Libra. I'm just kind of like, But I do sense and take on everybody else's emotion. I can feel when someone's not having a good day. I'll take that on. And so to counteract that, I don't watch the news. I try to be mindful of what I watch on TV and what I listen to. So if that's something you want to change, he's basically telling us what we need to do. It says, check regularly on the negative suggestions that people make to you. You do not have to be at the mercy of destructive heterosuggestion. All of us have suffered from it in our childhood, in our teens, and in adulthood. If you look back, you can easily recall how parents, friends, relatives, teachers, and associates contributed in a campaign of negative suggestions. Study the things said to you. Closely examine their underlying meaning, and you will discover that many of them were nothing more than a form of propaganda. Its concealed purpose was and is to control you by instilling fear in you. Telling you. This heterosuggestion process goes in every home, office, factory, and club. You will find that many of the suggestions people make, whether they know it or not, are aimed at making you think, feel, and act as they want you to, in ways that are to their advantage, even if they are destructive to you. See it all the time in the workplace, social settings, and yeah, it's just sad. And and like he said, I don't necessarily think that this is something, or at least I would hope this isn't something that people do intentionally. However, we need to be more mindful that our words hold power, and just think they obviously do, because if someone's words to you are so powerful, you to continuously, hold those words for years and years down the road. Just think you possess the same power within yourself to feed yourself these positive words. And so you can carry on more favorable experiences for yourself. How suggestion killed a man. A distant relative of mine went to a celebrated crystal gazer in India and asked the woman to read his future. The seer told him that he had a bad heart. She predicted that he would die at the next new moon. My relative was aghast. He called up everyone in his family and told them about their prediction. He met with his lawyer to make sure his will was set up. Make sure his will was up to date. When I tried to talk him out of his conviction, he told me that the crystal gazer was known to have amazing occult powers. She could do great good or harm to those she dealt with. He was convinced of the truth of this. As the new moon approached, he became more and more withdrawn. A month before, this man had been happy, healthy, vigorous, and robust. Now he was invalid. On the date predicted, he suffered a fatal heart attack. He died not knowing he was the cause of his own death. How many of us have heard similar stories and shivered a little at the thought that the world is full of mysterious, uncontrollable forces? Yes, the world is full of forces, but they are neither mysterious nor uncontrollable. My relative killed himself by allowing a powerful suggestion to enter his subconscious mind. He believed in a crystal gazer's power, so he accepted her prediction completely. I think about this a lot. Well, not necessarily a lot, but I have thought about it in the past. Especially like I was talking about Tupac the other day. When I was younger, I was one of the hugest Tupac fans. But if you go back and you listen to a lot of his lyrics, he talked about death or, being shot at and assassinated. So, and he rapped with such conviction. I'm wondering to bet how much of that impacted his unfortunate passing. So, it's just important that, sometimes we can't help what environment that we're in. However, we have control of our mind and our thoughts. So when you feel yourself put into a position where you're constantly met with negative or thoughts that do not meet what your overall objectives are, you got to work on counteracting those suggestions. So I will continue. Let's take another look at what happened. Knowing what we do about the way the subconscious mind. Let's take another look at what happened. Knowing what we do about the way the subconscious mind works. Whatever the conscious reasoning mind of a person believes, the subconscious mind will accept and act upon. My relative was in a suggestible state when he went to see the fortune teller. She gave him a negative suggestion and he accepted it. He became terrified. He constantly ruminated on his conviction that he was going to die at the next new moon. He told everyone about it, and he prepared for his end. It was his own fear and expectation of the end, accepted as true by his subconscious mind, that brought about his death. And you'll see, as you grow on your spiritual journey, a lot of the times, some of the people and friends and family that you used to be able to laugh and kiki and kick it with, sometimes to protect your peace and your sanity, you'll begin to separate yourself from them. And I do it, but it's not from a judgmental standpoint, like, oh, I can't be over there with them. It's just the vibes or the frequency is just not right. Nothing against them. It's just that I no longer, identify with that no more. So sometimes I have to, separate myself. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Sorry, y'all. Give me just a few minutes. Yeah, I'm sorry. So as I was saying, yes, you just have to be mindful of your settings and being careful whose words and behaviors and thoughts are you allowing to seep into your conscious and subconscious mind. The woman who predicted his death had no power more than the stones and sticks in the field. Her suggestion in itself had no power to create or bring about the end she suggested. If he had known the laws of his mind, he would have completely rejected the negative suggestion and refused to give her words any attention. He could have gone about the business of living with the secure knowledge that he was governed and controlled by his own thoughts and feelings. The prophecy of the seer would have been like a rubber ball thrown at an armored tank. He could have easily neutralized and dissipated her suggestion with no harm to himself. Instead, through lack of awareness and knowledge, he allowed it to kill him. And that's another thing. Sometimes when you get on spiritual journeys, sometimes people will seek out intuitive people to read tarot and all this stuff. And if you do go down that path, just be mindful, because, everyone does not have your intention at heart, and your good intentions at heart. And you also need to have the spirit of discernment. Everybody has the power and the ability to discern. It's just a matter of if you use it or not. So in the event, if you do decide to seek out spiritual reading, just be mindful. You know what resonates with you. You feel it in your gut. So if they tell you like, oh, hey, you're going to do so and so today, and no, I'm not. That's not something that I would do. Use the power of discernment to say, okay, this does not apply. I know I listen to Dr. B all the time. I'm not sure. Dr. B Serious. I'm not sure if you guys heard of him. He always says, he has said in the past, like when something is not aligned with himself, you say clear cut delete. So if somebody tell you, oh, you're being fake today, and you're just really maybe just don't want to be bothered, and it doesn't resonate with you, don't harbor on what that person's telling you. Clear cut delete. You cut it off. It has no power, and you move on. So I will continue. In themselves, the suggestion of others has no power over you. Whatever power they have, they gain because you give it to them through your own thoughts. Your thoughts provide words power. that is so powerful. Like, I really sometimes sit back and think, like, man, if I would have known some of this stuff earlier, like, I would have possibly made better decisions in relationships and career choices. But this is amazing. Let me read that again. In themselves, the suggestions of others have no power over you. Whatever power they have, they gain because you give them, you give it to them through your own thoughts. You have to give your mental consent. You have to entertain and accept the thought. At that point, it becomes your own thought, and your subconscious works to bring it into your experience. Remember, you have the capacity to choose. Choose life, choose love, choose health. The promise of an assumed major premise. Since the days of ancient Greece, philosophers and logicians have studied the form of reasoning called syllogism. Your mind reasons in syllogism. In practice terms, sorry guys, I'm back. Since the days of ancient Greece, philosophers and logicians have studied the form of reasoning called syllogism. Your mind reasons in syllogisms. In practical terms, this means that whatever major premises your conscious mind assumes to be true, that determines the conclusions your conscious mind will come to. No matter what the particular question or problem might be, if your premises are true, the conclusion must be true. For example, all formed things change and pass away. The pyramids of Egypt are formed things, therefore the pyramids will change and pass away. In this, every virtue is praiseworthy. Kindness is virtue, therefore kindness is praiseworthy. In both cases, the first statement is referred to as the major premise, and the first conclusion must necessarily follow the right premise. A college professor who attended some of my Science of Mind lectures in New York City's town hall came to speak with me afterward. He told me, everything in my life is topsy-turvy. I have lost health, wealth, and friends. Everything I touch turns out wrong. I explained to him that his problems followed logically and directly from his self-destructive major premise. To change his life, he had to establish a new major premise in his thinking. He needed to accept as true the conviction that the infinite intelligence of his subconscious mind was guiding, directing, and prospering him spiritually, mentally, and materially. Once he did that, his subconscious mind would automatically direct him wisely in his decisions, heal his body, and restore his mind to peace and tranquility. This professor formulated an overall picture of the way he wanted his life to be. This was his major premise. Infinite intelligence leads and guides me in all my ways. Perfect health is mine, and the law of harmony operates in my mind and body. Beauty, love, peace, and abundance are mine. The principle of right action and divine order govern my entire life. I know my major premise is based on the eternal truths of life, and I know, feel, and believe that my subconscious mind responds according to the nature of my conscious mind's thinking. Later, he wrote me the following progress report. I repeated the statements of my major premise slowly, quietly, and lovingly several times a day. I knew that they were sinking deep down into my subconscious mind. I was convinced by the laws of my mind and results must follow. I'm deeply grateful for the interview you gave me, and I would like to add that all departments of my life are changing for better. It works. The subconscious does not argue controversially. Your subconscious mind is all wise. It knows the answers to all questions. However, it does not know that it does not know what it knows. It does not argue with you or talk back to you. It does not say, you must not impress me with suggestions of that sort. When you say, I can't do this, I'm too old now, I can't meet this obligation, I was born on the wrong side of the tracks, I don't know the right politician, you are impregnating your subconscious with the negative thoughts. It responds accordingly. You are actually blocking your own good. You are bringing lack, limitation, frustration into your life. When you set up obstacles, impediments, and delays in your conscious mind, you're denying the wisdom and intelligence resident in your subconscious mind. You're actually saying with effect that your subconscious mind cannot solve your problem. This leads to mental and emotional congestion, followed by sickness and neurotic tendencies. To realize your desires and overcome your frustration, affirm boldly several times a day. The infinite intelligence that gives me this desire leads, guides, and reveals to me the perfect plan for unfolding of my desire. I know the deeper wisdom of my subconscious is now responding, and what I feel and claim within is expressed in the without. There is balance, equilibrium, and equanimity. On the other hand, if you say, there's no way out, I'm lost, there's no way out of this dilemma, I'm stymied and blocked. You will get no answer or response from your subconscious mind. If you want the subconscious to work for you, you have to give it the right request and get its cooperation. It is always working for you. It is controlling your heartbeat and breathing this minute. When you cut your finger, it sets in motion the complex process of healing. Its most fundamental tendency is life work. It is forever seeking to take care of you and preserve you. Your subconscious has a mind of its own, but it accepts your patterns of thought and imagery. When you look for the answer to a problem, your subconscious will respond, but it expects you to come to a decision in a true judgment in your own conscious mind. You must acknowledge that the answer is in your subconscious mind. If you say, I don't think there is any way out, I'm all mixed up and confused, why don't I get an answer? You are neutralizing your prayer. Like the soldier marking time, you use the vital energy, but you do not move forward. Still the wheels of your mind, relax, let go, quietly affirm. My subconscious knows the answer. It is responding to me now. I give thanks because I know the infinite intelligence of my subconscious knows all things and is revealing the perfect answer to me now. My real conviction is now setting free the majesty and glory of my subconscious mind. I rejoice that it is so. Ideas to remember. Think good and good follows. Think evil and evil follows. You are what you think all day long. Your subconscious mind does not argue with you. It accepts what your conscious mind decrees. If you say, I can afford it, your subconscious works to make it true. Select a better thought, decree, I'll buy it, I accept it in my mind. You have the power to choose. Choose health and happiness. You can choose to be friendly or you can choose to be unfriendly. Choose to be cooperative, joyous, friendly, lovable, and the whole world will respond. This is the best way to develop a wonderful personality. Your conscious mind is the watchman at the gate. Its chief function is to protect your subconscious mind from false impressions. Choose to believe that something good can happen, and it's happening now. Your greatest power is your capacity to choose. Choose happiness and abundance. The suggestions and statements of others have no power to hurt you. The only power is the movement of your own thought. You can choose to reject the thoughts or statements of others and affirm the good. You have the power to choose how you will react. Watch what you say. You have to account for every outer word. Never say, I will fail, I will lose my job, I can't pay the rent. Your subconscious cannot take a joke. It will bring all those things to pass. Your mind is not evil. No force of nature is evil. It depends how you use the powers of nature. Use your mind to bless, heal, and inspire all people everywhere. Never say I can't. Overcome that fear by substituting the following. I can do all things through the power of my own subconscious mind. Begin to think from the standpoint of the eternal truths and principles of life and not from the standpoint of fear, ignorance, and superstition. Do not let others do your thinking for you. Choose your own thoughts and make your own decisions. You are the captain of your soul, subconscious mind, and the master of your faith. Remember, you have the capacity to choose. Choose life, choose love, choose health, choose happiness. Whatever your conscious mind assumes and believes to be true, your subconscious mind will accept and bring to pass. Believe in good fortune, divine guidance, right action, and all the blessings of life. And that includes chapter 2. I think that was a very powerful chapter. Some things that we can remember is just remember sometimes there are external, I guess we could say, forces that may impact our ability to perceive the good and the many desires that we want. However, we must remain mindful that we have the power to not empower those things by using auto-suggestion, positive suggestions such as affirmative talk and behavior. I think that was, like I said, a very good chapter. I thank you guys so much for joining me. If you have any additional tips that you believe that would be beneficial for others as well as myself who are on their spiritual journey, please share in the comment section. I'll be back shortly to continue with the reading of our book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.